SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am UDOM Kings, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. First off, let's look at the headlines. President Buhari departs Abuja for Expo 2020. Presidency challenges SERAP to declare accounts. China summons Japan's envoy over ex-Prime Minister's remarks. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin this afternoon with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has departed Abuja and has arrived in Dubai to attend the Expo 2020 in the United Arab Emirates. The Expo 2020 Dubai is aimed at creating an environment for Nigerians to join over 190 countries to forge true and meaningful partnerships. According to a statement by the President's spokesperson, Femi Adesina, the Expo will provide an opportunity for the Nigerian delegation to highlight significant strides in the economy in the last 6 years as a basis for making the country an important destination for foreign direct investment. Additional added that the President will also receive in audience prospective investors as well as meet with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the United Arab Emirates Armed Forces, and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and ruler of the Emirate of Dubai. And in the meantime, the presidency is accusing the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP of putting out what it called divisive, irresponsible and barefaced publicity stunts. In a statement, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, asked the group to stop the alleged action and render its own accountability. According to Shehu, very little is known about SERAP or who funds them, despite their claims of being an organization that champions transparency and accountability. And in another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed regret over the boat accident in Bagwa local government area of KANO State, in which 36 deaths were reported. In a message to sympathize with the government and people of KANO State over the incident, the President assured the state government of the support of all federal agencies in the state as rescue operations continue. And away from that, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, says the issue of pardoning the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, NNAMDI KANO, is premature. During a televised interview, Malawi said pardon is a function of the conviction in the Nigerian context and that NNAMDI KANO had not yet been convicted. Buttressing his point, the minister said the trials associated with KANO had not been concluded and as such the pardon option cannot get on the table just yet. INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, has broken a silence on a letter written to it by President Muhammadu Buhari over the contentious Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The President, who received the bill on November 19, has until December 19 to sign it or withhold his assent and communicate to the National Assembly his views and comments about it. The electoral umpire was quoted by saying, if after 30 days the President refuses to sign the bill and the National Assembly not in support of the President's amendments or reservation, that the Senate and the House of Representatives can recall the bill and pass it into law. Reacting to the President's letter on Wednesday, INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of its Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said its position constitutionally, legally and administratively was that the electoral management body was the end user of the electoral legal framework. And elsewhere, federal government has thrown its weight behind the Lagos state government's white paper and the report of the judicial panel set up to probe cases of police brutality and shooting at the Lekki toll gate, promising to take further actions. Do recall that the Lagos state government rejected key recommendations of the panel's report, especially the one that bordered on shootings at Lekki toll gate by security agents. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, Abubakar Malawi, SAN, who spoke in an interview as regards the white paper, said the report depends on the perspective one's look at it and the prevailing laws that are in context. And he further said, when one talks about laws that are exclusively applicable to the Federation and context of the actual situation, that it was not out of the place to arrive at a conclusion. And on legislative matters, the Senate has amended the National Health Insurance Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021, which was passed by the National Assembly in April last year. The Red Chamber, however, at plenary considered a motion sponsored by the Senate leader Yahaya Abdullahi for the recommittal of some clauses. Reading the lead debate on behalf of the Senate leader, the Deputy Leader Ajayi Borofis explained that the decision of the National Assembly to amend the bill was in line with the need to address all observations raised by the President. Accordingly, the upper chamber deleted Clause 20 of the bill, which provides for third-party administrator. It also amended the provisions of Clause 24, subsection 2 on the implementation of the Basic Health Care Fund. And still on legislative matters, the House of Representatives has mandated the Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Khali Baba, to ensure the removal of illegal and unnecessary police and military checkpoints on all roads in the country. The House also directed him to remove all the wooden barriers across the road as it affects the lifespan of roads. It further mandated its Committee on Works to investigate the status of road concessions that has been given out in the past 6 months and report back within 2 weeks for further legislative action. The resolutions of the lawmakers were sequel to the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance. Military checkpoints on Onitsha-Owerri Expressway in Ihiala have been operational to quell insecurity in the area. However, he lamented that the road users have since been subjected to devastating, degrading and inhuman treatment occasioned by the operation of military and police checkpoints in that area. And to judiciary now, where a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed a suit seeking disqualification of former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Professor Charles Soludo, as ANAMBRA state governor-elect. Delivering judgments in the suit instituted by Adindu Valentine and Chukwuebuka Egwodike, Justice Taiwo described the suit as frivolous, irritating, baseless, and lacking of merit. Taiwo accused the plaintiffs of seeking to use the court to scuttle democracy and award 2 million naira against them to be paid to Soludo and Deputy Governor-elect Onyeka Ibezim. Recall that the plaintiffs had argued that Soludo gave false information in the affidavit from EC9 he submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and should therefore be disqualified from contesting the governorship position. And in EKITI State, Governor FAYEMI has reportedly directed those serving in his government who would like to contest the governorship primaries to tender their resignation latest December 18. The directive was contained in a statement signed by the governor's chief press secretary, Yinka Oyebode in Adokiti. Oyebode stated that the development became imperative in order to ensure cohesion and excellent service delivery, which are the two major hallmarks of the administration. And back here in Akwa Ibom State, the Akwa Ibom State Governor, UDOM Emmanuel, has again called on the people of the state to make conscious efforts to protect themselves against contracting the dreaded coronavirus disease, especially the new variant called OMICRON. The governor, who made the appeal while taking delivery of some quantities of hand sanitizers donated to the state by SERAP, Japan, said that people can protect themselves by maintaining a high level of hygiene and adhering to all non-pharmaceutical safety measures put in place by the government. Governor Emmanuel, who thanked the Japanese firm for the donations, called on the company to site a sanitizer production facility in the state and provide other medical consumables as well as funds to manage the COVID-19 crisis in the state, while directing that the sanitizers should be shared widely, especially to government offices, hospitals, schools, and worship centers. The governor charged the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders, as well as the COVID-19 committee, to embark on effective sensitization to prevent incursion of the Omicron variant of the disease in the state. Earlier in his speech, the State Commissioner for Health, Professor Augustine Umar, had warned against selling of the hand sanitizers, saying that those caught selling the sanitizers will be dealt with. About 2 units of 40-feet containers of hand sanitizers were presented to the state government by SERAP of Japan. Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom state government has again urged residents of the state to get themselves vaccinated with the coronavirus vaccines. State Commissioner for Health, Professor Augustine Umar, who made the plea, said about 91,070 persons have so far been vaccinated in the state. The commissioner, however, noted that some of those who took the AstraZeneca or Moderna vaccines as first doses have not returned for the second dose of the vaccines. Professor Umar also appealed to the people of the state to continue to observe all non-pharmaceutical COVID-19 preventive measures as put together by the government. And in Africa, Ethiopian government says troops have recaptured the historic town of Lalibela from Tigrayan rebels. This is the latest victory claimed by the government since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed went to the front lines last week to lead the fight back. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who spoke during a meeting with soldiers as he joins the battlefront against rebel groups for the second time, said the enemy has been defeated, adding that the remaining task is to rout the enemy and destroy them. And on the foreign scene, China's foreign ministry has summoned Japan's ambassador in Beijing, Hideo Tarumi, for an emergency meeting. This comes after former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said neither his country nor the United States could stand by if China attacked Taiwan. In a statement, the Assistant Foreign Minister Hua Chunying called Abe's remark erroneous and a violation of basic norms of relations between China and Japan in the meeting. Hua said Abe's comments openly challenged China's sovereignty and gave present support to Taiwan independence forces. And still on the foreign scene, the U.S. Supreme Court appears poised to accept a Mississippi law that would bar abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, even in the cases of rape or incest. In yesterday's hearing into the case, conservative justice hinted that the majority backed up the law in the years since the fruitful viability standard was accepted. Meanwhile, lawyers defending the Mississippi law have asked the court to overturn previous landmark decisions regarding abortion. The first, 1973's Roe v. Wade, gave women in the U.S. an absolute right to an abortion in the first 3 months of pregnancy and limited rights in the second trimester. In 1992, in Planned Parenthood v. Casey, the court ruled that states could not place an undue burden on women seeking abortions before a fetus could survive outside the womb at about 24 weeks. Anti-abortion activists are urging the court to protect unborn children, but experts warn of an increase in maternal mortality if abortion is restricted. Reports say a ruling expected in June may see millions of women lose abortion access. And still to come on the news, Women's Tennis Association suspends tournament in China over Shuai's disappearance. Stay with us. Thank you for rejoining us on the news. Now to the rest of our stories. In business, Nigeria's external reserves have reportedly fallen by $610 million in the last month. Figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria show that the reserves dropped to $41.2 billion as of November 29 from $41.8 billion on October 29. The Central Bank of Nigeria said at the present level, the external reserves could meet the country's 9-month import demand with support from the bank's demand management policy. Now in health, COVID-19 cases in Nigeria have increased by 52 to 214,270. The new cases comprise 29 infected persons in Lagos, 12 in the Federal Capital Territory, 4 in Kaduna, 3 in Bauchi, 2 in KANO, and 1 each in Ogun and Oyo states. 207,312 persons have so far been discharged, while 978 have died from the virus. And in sports, the Women's Tennis Association has announced the immediate suspension of all tournaments in China amid concerns for Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai. The 35-year-old disappeared from public view for 3 weeks after accusing a top Chinese official of sexual assault. And still in sports, Qatar has inaugurated 2 FIFA World Cup 2022 stadiums, albeit in 974, on the opening day of the FIFA Arab Cup 2021. Albeit a 60,000-seater venue designed to resemble the tents historically used by nomadic people in the Gulf region hosted Qatar's 1-0 victory against Bahrain. The stadium will also host the opening match of Qatar 2022 in just under a year. The inauguration of Al-Bayt was attended by the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who officially announced the start of the tournament. In our entertainment news today, Alec Baldwin says he never pulled the trigger of the gun that shot director of photography Halyana Hutchins on the set of Rust. Speaking in an excerpt released from his first sit-down interview since October, Baldwin said he has no idea how a live bullet got into the Colt .45 revolver he used in the scene, stressing that someone put a live bullet in the gun. According to him, the set tragedy was the worst thing that has happened to him in his career.
He was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired. I mean, even now, I find it hard to believe that. It just doesn't seem real to me. Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
Well, that's all we have for you at this time. Be sure to follow us on social media